got your MAGA Mac guys here on Birds 365. Coming up in about 17 minutes. Randy Bueller, ex-NFL executives, going to jump aboard. We've got a bunch of things talking about the offseason that Howie Roseman has had and building rosters and the like. Randy's always good whenever we punch him up. So he's going to join us in about 17 minutes.
And the Seattle Sea Dragons, by the way. He is leading the charge for the second best team in the XFL. Well, tied for the second best team.
Name 2 Seattle Sea Dragons.
Ben DiNucci. I know the quarterback. And
well, who cares? Quarterbacks don't win games. Teams win games.
I can't. Well, teams do win games, but I don't pay attention to the XFL. That's not an indictment on teams win games.
I just thought it was interesting, and that the only guy you knew was the quarterback.
Well, I don't pay attention to the XFL. I pay attention to the NFL. So I can name George Kittle, Nick Bosa. I can name the all-pros on the 49ers. There are going to be a bunch of XFL all-stars, whatever they call them, in the XFL that come to Seattle. But you can take Kirk Cousins out of the conversation. I mean, you can bring up Derek Carr. You can bring up everybody else on that list we mentioned are so far ahead of Brock Purdy. Hopefully he gets to that level. That's one. Yeah, that's, I mean, come on, Jody. That's all I'll say.
Hi, John. Should Eagle fans feel upset? Should they feel, I got to come up with the right word here, disrespected? Everyone talks about respect in football. I saw this morning, website that you can do gambling on, putting out their over-unders for the upcoming year. The Philadelphia Eagle over-under number is 10.5.
It's pretty good, by the way.
Okay, you like that number. The San Francisco 49er over-under number, the 49ers who will be quarterbacked by either Brock Purdy, can't play, Trey Lance has never played, Sam Darnold has proven he can't play, they're 11.5. So you've got the Philadelphia Eagles led by the best quarterback in the NFC, UI and our buddy John Stolnitz all agree. Jalen Hurts, they're only 10.5, but the San Francisco 49ers with who the hell knows is going to be their quarterback are 11.5. Should Eagle fans feel disrespected?
No, I think if Jimmy Garoppolo didn't get hurt last year, I think, people would have speculated that San Francisco, as I did, was the more talented team. Again, I think it's 1-2. Kyle Shanahan, whether that's fair or not, is, highly regarded, still more highly regarded probably than Nick Sirianni. That I might disagree with. I think, as you know, I think Kyle's the best play caller, but I don't think he's the best head coach. No, I mean, they're number 2. They lost all this in free agency. They lost 7 starters. They lost 3 key reserves. They didn't add. All they added was 1 year, $2 million players at the most. And San Francisco has that roster, and they've been able to keep most of it together. They lost Mike McGlinchey, who's a good right tackle, who got paid big time. But they haven't had the same amount of attrition. So, no, it's not disrespectful. They might have been the favorites last year if the quarterback didn't get hurt. And remember, the quarterback that got hurt is not even that good. They're a really good team, really deep team, and everybody in the NFL knows it. And that's, it's not disrespectful.
All right, well, then, if you can, and I'm asking you to read somebody else's mind, those that put out those type numbers, the Eagles won more games than the 49ers did this year. The Eagles are now expected to win less games than the 49ers did last year. Did the 49ers get better or did the Eagles get worse?
The Eagles got worse from a talent. The Eagles lost, as I just said, they lost 7 starters. One of their best starters, the best guy they lost, probably Javon Hargrave, went to San Francisco to further supplement what was a weakness. They had Nick Bosa, but they didn't have a great pass rush inside. Now they have, in theory, on paper, a great pass rush inside to add to the defense that was number one. Now they lost the coordinator, but they brought in Steve Wilkes, who is highly regarded himself. They still have Fred Warner. They still have Nick. They didn't lose as much. It's about the Eagles' attrition. If the Eagles managed, and they couldn't, and they knew it, and Howie told you 16 times over Sunday, we're going to lose players. If for some reason the rules were different and they kept the same players and they didn't lose the 7 starters, they'd be at 11.5, and San Francisco would be under them. But they lost more than San Francisco lost.
So would you say that Lynch has either done a better job or is a better general manager than Howie Roseman? If he's
you're trying to get me to say they believe in Brock Purdy. They believe in the roster.
John, I didn't even bring up Brock Purdy's name. I'm asking you about.
It's obvious
I'm
the way
asking
you're
you about
going.
Lynch. I asked you about the general manager. What are you talking about?
If you think the San Francisco 49ers are 11 or 11.5, whatever they are, because of Brock Purdy, I mean, come on,
John.
again.
I didn't bring up Brock. I asked you about the general manager.
Come on,
we were comparing the two rosters. John, we were comparing the two rosters.
I wasn't born yesterday.
Offseason, and you said the Eagles lost more than the 49ers, and the 49ers added Javon Hargrave. At no point did I bring up the quarterback's name. I'm just asking you, do you think Lynch has done a better job than Howie Roseman this offseason?
I think Howie Roseman's a better GM than John Lynch. Everything is a sliding scale. The Eagles, again, Howie told you, the Eagles went all in to win the Super Bowl. They came up just short. They had some salary cap issues. The salary cap is real. They were forced to move on from some players that, if the salary cap wasn't real or they didn't have salary cap issues, they wouldn't have moved on for. They didn't want to move on from Javon Hargrave. They had to move on. They didn't want to move on from Isaac Seumalo. They had to move on from Isaac Seumalo. They didn't want to lose these players, even CJ. They didn't want to lose CJ, but as he dragged his feet, they didn't want to lose TJ Edwards. It's like they don't value the linebacker position, but if they could have gotten him back, they'd like to have TJ Edwards in the middle of that defense. They were forced to move on because they also have to pay the quarterback, which San Francisco doesn't have to do just yet. Maybe they will down the road, whether it's Brock Purdy or Trey Lance, and I still think it's more likely Trey Lance. At some point, if he hits or Brock hits, and he hasn't hit, if he hits, that word is key, if, they'll have to pay the quarterback, and they'll be in the same situation as the Eagles are. And then they will have to make difficult decisions on players, whoever it might be at that time, but they're lucky enough that they don't have to make those difficult decisions. But they did with Mike McGlinchey. They'd like to have Mike McGlinchey back. Their right tackle isn't going to be as good next year, no matter what they do. That's a good, solid player. The Eagles lost more than the 49ers did, but that doesn't mean John Lynch is a better GM than Howie Roseman. I don't even think that one's that close, to be honest. John's done a good job, but I don't think he's close to Howie.
And you're right about the whole quarterback thing, and it just feels weird with the Eagles because they haven't paid Jalen yet. We all know it's coming. It's got to come at some point. And if you don't think Howie is making decisions like letting Hargrave leave and letting CJ leave and letting Edwards leave because eventually they're going to have to pay Jalen Hurts, well, then you're not just not paying attention. Of course, that's why they're doing this, because they know the inevitable payout to the quarterback is coming. Yeah, I'll give John Lynch credit for what he's done and also acknowledge that
I don't
he's
think
got it easier because he's got two guys who are, one or the other is going to be their starting quarterback.
I'm by no means am I saying John Lynch has done a bad job. I just said, he's not Howie Roseman as a GM. He's also not, Ryan Poles as a GM. He's done a really good job. That team has arguably been the most talented team from top to bottom for 3-4 seasons now. Now
And
part
Lynch
of
has been
that,
the general manager the whole time.
yeah, part of that is because even with Jimmy, who got paid a decent amount, there's levels. There's levels, and they weren't at that astronomical rate. And they pit on young players who turned into very good players. He's done a really good job. But if you force me to pick the better general manager of the two, I'm going to go with Howie Roseman. But I have tremendous respect for Howie Roseman. But going back to your bet, going back to your original question about the betting, why is San Francisco ahead of Philadelphia from your perspective?
Because I think Brock Purdy can play.
So you think it's about Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
That's
and
exactly
the fact
what I
when
thought.
When you say Brock Purdy in the conversation we're having, the makes absolutely nothing at the quarterback position, Brock Purdy, which allows the 49ers to go out and get Javon Hargrave. Well, the Eagles have to watch Javon Hargrave walk out the door because they got to pay Jalen Hurts. That's a mega plus for the 49ers that they've got a quarterback who last year in 6 regular season starts had an over 100 quarterback ranking 5 times, and in a playoff game had a quarterback ranking of 131. Yeah, I think that's a big plus for the 49ers.
And I'll remember this when you dismiss that they're going to look at Trey Lance again. They have a built-in excuse. Brock Purdy's injured. Brock Purdy's not going to be ready. I'm going to guarantee you this, right, Jody, and Xander, please clip it. I guarantee you they default similar to the Eagles with Andre Dillard and Jordan Mailata. Now, Jordan won, Brock can win, but they're going to give every opportunity to Trey Lance to be the starting quarterback of that team. And they have a built-in excuse to do it. Built in.
Well, we're speculating on when Purdy is going to be able to come back at this point. If you've got a more secure date that you think he's going to be able to play.
Well, he had UCL surgery. I mean, it's going to be a while. I mean, he's not going to have an off season. I mean, that's, hopefully he can make it back by week 1, but he's not going to have much of an off season. We already know that.
Understood, but I don't know what date Brock Purdy is going to be cleared to play in an NFL game. It may be week 1. He may miss the entire year if there's an issue with his rehab as he comes along. Yeah, there's a chance he could miss the entire year. I'm just not a Trey Lance fan. I think Trey Lance is the West Coast version of Zach Wilson. The more you get to see Trey Lance, the more you'll find out, really, we used the 3rd pick in the draft on Trey Lance, the same way the Jets have realized they used the 2nd pick of the draft on Zach Wilson and said, oh, shoot, we better go get ourselves an actual quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. That was my evaluation of Trey Lance coming out in the draft. Nothing he's done in the limited amount of time that he's played in the league has changed my opinion. So, yes, I do rate a guy who's actually gone in, won games, put up numbers, won playoff games over a guy that you're tied to. Again, you and I talk about this all the time, and I thought we were on the same page. Too much of the NFL is determined by where you were drafted, that your pedigree determines how you should be viewed and how you should be looked at. When the truth is, once you put on the uniform, the only thing that really counts is your salary, because you're playing in a capped world, that you should then be able to judge the players on what they actually do on the field. And Trey Lance has given me nothing for me to be able to say, yeah, there's a quarterback.
I'm just saying they're going to default to him, and they're going to default to him because they did. John Lynch is part of this because he's the one who went up and made the decision and put his reputation on the line and picked him where he picked him. I'm just saying they're going to default to him, just like the Eagles defaulted to Andre Dillard. Now, ultimately, Jordan Mailata won because he was that much better. So there's going to be an opportunity for Brock Purdy. There's going to be an opportunity for Sam Darnold even. But they're going to default to Trey Lance because of where they picked him in the draft, right or wrong. That's just the way this league works. And it's even easier because of Brock's injury. It's even easier because they're going to say, I can predict it right now. They're going to say, well, he's not ready. He didn't have an off season. He's still rehabbing. And all the time they're going to be looking at Trey Lance. Where's Trey Lance? Where's Trey Lance? Where's Trey Lance? How's he look? What's he doing? What's he doing? And if he shits the bed, he shits the bed. But don't close the book on Trey Lance. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, if Brock can't go at the beginning of the season, yeah, Trey Lance is going to get every single chance. Despite the fact that I watched Sam Darnold play as many games as I did, I think Sam Darnold's got a chance to beat out Trey Lance and be their starting quarterback.
I think he does too.
And I don't think Sam Darnold's all that good to begin with, but he could be better than Trey Lance. All right, quickie timeout coming up. We've got Randy Mueller, ex-NFL Executive of the Year, MuellerFootball.com, does a podcast for The Athletic. We'll talk all things NFL with Randy Mueller next here on Birds 365.